All right, guys. So, Slice for Slacker back at it again with another video. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to somebody in the community. His name's Casemiro. In the description is going to be his channel. I have a lot of followers who ask me about MasterDuel content. I'm not going to lie. I do not have time to play MasterDuel, so I really just don't play it much. Over the summer when I'm off more, I will probably do that. But what I wanted to do was kind of just explain our basic setup. So obviously, you know the combos by now. You know how the deck works. I want to show you guys what the deck does. So basically, turn one, you want to get into Cosmo Neos, Nebula Neos, or Shining Neos Wingman. Okay, you want to, and what I mean get into it turn one is you want to set the favorite contact and then activate getting into one of these guys. Now, obviously, if you know the type of deck you're playing against, sometimes Cosmo Neos is not always the way. I played against a Dinomorphia deck, and I'm like, I could either go Nebula Neos or Shining Neos, because Cosmo Neos isn't going to do much. They're going to summon out a monster, maybe do some searches, and then just set a bunch of back row. Whereas if I get into the Shining Neos, okay, I have a light. They usually, I think Dinomorphia is dark. If I then have Earth or Fire or another attribute on board plus him, I could potentially wipe 4 of their traps, okay? Which is good. I mean, you want to be able to know your matchups. So when I say that, sometimes Cosmo Neos is not always the way that we need to play. If you're playing something like Trap Tricks, same deal, okay? Getting out into something like Shining Neos Wingman, wiping that back row, okay? Or maybe going, then again, Trap Tricks going Cosmo Neos and then not letting your opponent use Sarah. But I think honestly, in hindsight, I think Shining Neos Wingman is probably the best against something like Trap Tricks. But then again, you have to be able to feel out your opponent. You have to be able to, feel out how they're playing, what their play style is. So these are basically our main boss monsters, okay? Turn one, you want to get into one of these 3. Really no exceptions if you're playing pure Neos. These are essentially it. Now, when we get the new Wingman, which we don't have yet, we'd obviously, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Konami announced for the OCG a retrain of Flame Wingman that on summon allows you to search a card with favorite in its card text. As of right now, we have 2 cards. Favorite Hero, which is an equip spell that allows you to equip to a monster during battle phase, activate its effect. You can place a field spell on field. The monster cannot be targeted. Okay. We also have Favorite Contact, which is a trap card that allows you to special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring summoning conditions from anywhere. So hand, field, graveyard, or banish. Anywhere but the deck. If you use Elemental Hero Neos, that monster cannot be returned to the deck, the extra deck. So any of the Neos fusions won't return. And even if you summon out something like Wake Up, if you use Neos, he can't be returned. But getting to Wake Up, basically your basic strategy is you want to find a way to get into Sunrise, hold that Miracle Fusion for next turn, save it for this guy, and then what you can do is say whatever you go for, say for example, say your end board is something like Cosmo Neos, say maybe Sunrise, and then if you got into, say, Brave Neos. So literally, this is, if you have Engage, you can probably get this, depending on whether you get hand trapped or not. But that's the thing with New Wingman. New Wingman turns Engage into an extender, okay? It turns it into something that gets, right now it's something to just get out Spirit of Neos. When we get New Wingman, you can, get it off of Spirit, use it, get the poly into New Wingman, get your trap from there. So it really opens up our avenues of play, and it's really, really solid. It makes, this deck is already hella consistent. Going into that makes it a lot more consistent. So like I said, you're going to want to do something like this, and then these can all get destroyed. It doesn't matter. Then on your opponent's turn, or I'm sorry, after your opponent ends their turn, you can go Miracle Fusion on your turn and get out into Wake Up, and then you have, if you use 3 fusions, you have 3 attacks on monsters. So that's kind of what I've been going for. I like Wake Up. I think Wake Up's a pretty solid card. It's basically an elemental hero version of Trinity, but also has a floating effect. So if if he dies, then you could just summon out Spirit of Neos and then get a search, go from there. But I just kind of wanted to give a little rundown of why I'm running what I'm running on my extra deck. Because the main deck is pretty self-explanatory at this point, Storm Neos is just for that search of Aqua and Air. The second Shining Neos Wingman, I think it's important to play too, because you could go for one on your turn and then just go for the second one. It's nice to have that destruction effect, but it's not 100% mandatory. 1 Aqua, 1 Air, 1 Grand, and 1 Dark. These 2 are essentially, well, I guess you could count Air too if you wanted to, are essentially instant contact targets, and I guess he is too by technicality, but he's not a hero. Basically, on turn 2, if you have instant contact in hand, and say your opponent does get something decent out, this is essentially Imperm, and this is Compulse. So if you want to, get him out and then just negate whatever your opponent has, or beta negate, you could also get this out to target it and send it back to your opponent's hand. Air Neos is very situational. Aqua Neos is good if you're, say, going first and you're like, nah, I want to get something out of my opponent's hand. Like, I was playing a Galaxy player, and I completely forgot that Galakaribo was a thing. So basically, I had game, and I still won, but the dude played Galakaribo, and I'm like, okay, what does that do? And he's like, well, it special summons out Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. And luckily, I still had my Sunrise pop. I'm like, I'm saving. I'm not gonna let this dude get this over on me, because I know it exists, but at the same time, I kind of forgot about it. But I had my Sunrise pop, luckily. But Aqua Neos will save you from things like that. Hand traps in general, Aqua Neos is kind of good for. Is it something that's necessary? It's player preference, man. A lot of these older ones, the older Neos fusions, are totally player preference. But I do like playing the ones that are in the deck, like Aqua, Dark, Grand, and Air. That way, because Cash Tier is a thing. God forbid my Storm gets hit. Okay, say I have to go second. And that's also another reason why I'm playing 2 of these guys. Yeah, really, theoretically, if you go second against Cash, this isn't good second, though. So if you're a Cash player, I would not hit this out of the extra deck if I made my Neos opponent go second, because this card is only poggers on turn 1 of your turn. So getting this out, stopping your opponent from doing anything is so goated, but going second, it's really not that good. You'd much rather benefit from the popping effect of him or the drawing effect off of Nebula. And it's, I don't think that he does much. So that's kind of where, if I'm going first, I'm just going to get into him. If I'm playing a Cash player, I'm going to get into him. I'm not really worried about you banishing him from my extra deck, because I have this and this. You're not hitting all of that. I think max Cash Tier gets 2 extra deck banishes. So, they hit your good cards, they hit your good cards, play them at 2. That's, kind of my philosophy. Plus, if I was a Cash player, because I know how heroes work. If I was a Cash player and I looked at my opponent's extra deck and I saw this, I'd be like, oh my god, what do I hit? But, if you're playing somebody who doesn't really know the deck well, they might hit the wrong thing, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm good. But this guy is still good. But I'm noticing with new Wingman, I'm going into him less and less, and I'm relying more on just doing my engage combos. Which, you know, like I said earlier, engage is more of an extender when we get, you know, new Wingman. And honestly, with the way I would play this deck, I tried playing Rainbow Neos. It just didn't work. I kept bricking off of Rainbow Dragon. I tried cutting Fake Hero. I was bricking off everything that I had tried to add. So I just said, you know what? I'm going back to grassroots. I'm gonna play the deck the way I originally played it. I mean, I talked to a lot of people in the hero group, and they were like, hey, check out this. You know, try this build, do this, add in Forbidden Droplets, maybe cut Poly or cut Engage to 2. Cut Shuffle to 2. It just, the consistency wasn't there. Yes, I know hand traps exist, but my philosophy is this, okay? I would much rather have my deck as consistent as possible right out the gate. Obviously, hand traps exist, but if I'm actively making my deck worse and less consistent because hand traps exist, I'm going to get into Cosmo Neos, or I'm not going to get into Cosmo Neos, regardless of whether you hand trap me or not. So I think playing a lot of things that, you know, a lot of, I don't even know how to like word it, maybe negates, hand traps, board breakers, playing those things on top of your engine requirements just make the engine suck more. Now, if we got like, say we got more cards that we're able to replace, say like, I would love to see some way to replace Crosskeeper. Like if I could get a card, like if we could get Crosskeeper in the form of an elemental hero, I would definitely cut Fake Hero and Cross. That would save me 5 slots. You know what I mean? I might be able to do something with that, but like as of right now, the deck is just, this is the most consistent. I mean, I've played D times build. I've played a couple people's builds off of the Hero Facebook group, and it doesn't work as well. Now, granted, I don't have any results with this because I'm not taking this deck to locals until we get new Wingman. Like, until we get the actual combo piece in this deck, it's just not worth it. It's good, but like this is something that you play like really in like a casual for right now. I'm not saying the new Wingman's gonna make the deck meta or rogue, but it will improve the deck, but it's not gonna increase the ceiling by a lot. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my TED Talk. This is a Slifer Slacker. Do me a favor, check out Casemiro on YouTube. If you're a MasterDuel player, check him out because he basically took my build and kind of converted it for how it would play in MasterDuel. So check that guy out. He's sweet. He's always name dropping me. Love the dude. He's awesome. Give him some love, guys. Slifer Slacker out. At 900 subs, I'm gonna drop something sweet. I don't know if that's gonna be a new deck profile. What I have been working on a skyscraper build for like OG elemental heroes, because it's kind of like I want this deck to be like my Neos heavy one, and then that to be like old school heroes, but usable and playable, not like 20 vanillas in the deck. That would just be unplayable garbage. But guys, Slifer Slacker out. Stay tuned for the next one.